Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. I am here to do a new tag. This is an offshoot of a tag I did last week, which was Top 5 English Novels. And that tag started off as a discussion on the channel Lonesome Reader, just about two booktubers talking about their favorite English novels. And it was weaponized by Shelley Swearingen. And offshoots of that tag have already started to appear. Michael K. Vaughan has done his own video, not a tag, about his top 5 favorite novels in translation. Steve Donahue has done his top 5 Irish novels. Another channel has done top 5 un-English novels because he couldn't think of 5 English novels that he really liked. So I'm going for a rather easy new tag on this and saying the top 5 American novels. And by American novel, I'm sort of saying United States of America. And how you want to define an American novel is pretty much open to each person. How I'm defining it is that the author is American or immigrated to America or a resident of America and is writing about an American idea or American theme. You could be an immigrant writing in Spanish about life in America as a Spanish immigrant, and I think that would count as an American novel. You could be a foreigner. And this is a little hard, a foreigner thinking about what life in America is like. Because I have seen another channel claim that Franz Kafka's first novel, America, is an American novel because it was written by a German Jew thinking about what life in America would be like. I'll leave that open to individual people on how they want to define that. You can even write an American novel about going into outer space. So just leave it open to each individual person on how they want to define what is America, or the United States of America, and how they want to interpret it. Now, I'm going to put another restraint on myself that I don't necessarily expect other people to follow. But I am doing not my top 5 all-time favorites, but my top 5 recent favorites. And by recent favorites, I'm stipulating that I read in 2021 or 2022. And that is just because I wanted a little more focused and not have to think about all the books that I read over my entire life. Because I would probably include books like Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, which I think is a great American novel, but I have not read that in about 10 years. And I need to revisit it before I stick it on a favorites list. So, what are my top 5 favorite novels that are recent? Well, some of the novels that got cut just because I only had room for 5 are Mother Night by Kurt Vonnegut, The Postman Always Rings Twice by James M. Cain, and A Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole. I do feel a little guilty about leaving off Confederacy of Dunces because it really is one of my all-time favorite books. And, but I had other books that I wanted to go on this list. And these are listed not necessarily in order of favorite, but when I read them. So I'm talking about the books I read the longest time ago. That'd be early in 2021 and moving to the most recent. And the first is The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner. This book gets a lot of criticism for being extremely difficult, and it is extremely difficult. That first section by Benji can be just mind-bendingly complicated. But since I have read that book 3 times before, I am slowly getting used to what that narrative is trying to do. And of course, Benji is famously developmentally disabled. and he has no sense of time, and he can switch back and forth in his mind what's happening in the past, what's happening currently, sort of at random, but events trigger him off. And I just found it absolutely fascinating. And then you have the other characters, Quentin's time before he, let's not spoil it and say what he does, but he's having a bit of issues with his life. And then you have the Jason chapter, which Jason is a thoroughly despicable character, but he is a character that exists today. You can see people like him alive today and thinking like he does, and such a horrible man. And then the Dilsey chapter at the end, which is sort of the easiest chapter to read. And if I were to read this book again, I don't think I would read them these chapters in the order of the book. I would probably save the Benji section for last. And then another book that I really liked was J.R. by William Gaddis. And this is a book that I just discovered in 2020. And I've already read twice. That's how fascinating I find this book. It is a postmodern, incredibly dense novel, almost entirely unattributed dialogue. And the reader has to pay attention because there is so much going on. And the author is not always telling the reader directly what is going on. In the short, it is the story of a 11-year-old boy, J.R., who amasses a vast financial empire on paper. Of course, the empire he's acquiring is not necessarily as valuable as it is in real life, but on paper he's becoming very, very influential, and people are always turning to this mysterious man who owns this vast business empire, not realizing that it's an 11-year-old boy. And it is a satire on just the shenanigans of American business as they were written in the 70s. Now, the next book is one that I read about 15 years ago originally, and I liked it, but I did not love it. And then when I moved to Virginia, this book was a rallying cry for the Republicans against teaching books in school. And that book is Beloved by Toni Morrison. And for whatever reason, the Republicans have latched on to this book as something that children should never read. Apparently, there was a boy who read that book and got disturbed. And as I see it, is if you read that book and find something disturbing in that book, congratulations, you have just passed a reading comprehension exam, because the book is supposed to be disturbing. And on my reread, I enjoyed this so much more than the first time around. And it is a powerfully moving story. And I think it is a book that more people should be reading. And I think it's fine for high school students to be reading that and getting disturbed. Next is Geek Love by Katherine Dunn. This is a story of circus freaks. It's set some time ago. I believe it's 50s where the story is set. And it is a disturbing story because this is a story of owners of a traveling circus who want to create their own freak show. So the parents feed the mother chemicals and other substances, so she will have freakish children. And she does have freakish children. And they're all vastly different. We have the Aqua Boy. We have the dwarf. We have this, I'm sorry, there's a cattail in front of my camera. We have the Siamese twins, who are very good at piano. And then we have poor Chick, who on the surface is not a freak, but maybe the biggest freak of all. And it goes into then a cult. And I don't want to get too much detail in case you haven't read it, but why do people join a cult? Why do people follow a charismatic leader? Why would someone following a charismatic leader do something on the surface totally detrimental and against a person's own self-interest? And I just found this book so engaging and so entertaining and so strange. It is a very, very strange book. All the characters are odd. You don't have one normal person in this book, but very enjoyable. And the last is Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. I'm sorry, we have another cat coming into the video. And this is a Western. And it is an extremely violent and extremely vicious Western. I'm still digesting this book, even though this is the third time I've read this book. And trying just to come to terms about how humans could be so vicious to other humans. On the surface, it is the story of a gang who are hired to collect scalps for cash. These are the scalps of Indians. And that alone is a rather disturbing story. Apparently, that was based on a true story. I have not dug into the actual history of these events, but it follows the story of a kid, and in the book, he is just called the kid. He is not giving a name, who encounters difficulties in life starting off very young, and goes heads off on his own into the untamed areas of the United States before the Civil War. And he has lots of strange encounters with people. And some of this writing is just hypnotically beautiful. And again, very strange in some parts. So those are going to be my top 5 American novels recently read. So who should do this tag? Well, I'm going to tag Steve Donahue because he gets really upset if he doesn't get included in these tags, and I'd like to see what his top 5 American novels are, although I think I can guess 1 or 2. I'm also tagging Shelley Swearingen because she started off the tag of the English novel, and I think it's only fair to throw something back at her. And then I will do Michael K. Vaughan, and again, I think I can pick at least 2 or 3 of his book choices. I'm going to pick David Wiley and my buddy Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics. So thank you for watching this. Goodbye.